The night of June 17, 1462. The darkness is absolute, suffocating. Somewhere south of Târgoviște, deep in the forests of Wallachia, 300 elite horsemen sit motionless on their mounts. Their faces are painted with ash and mud to blend with the shadows. They wear captured Ottoman tunics over their armor. Around them, they can hear the sounds of the largest military force on earth. 150,000 Ottoman soldiers camped along the valley, their fires stretching for miles like a river of stars. Among those fires, in the most heavily guarded tent at the center of the camp, sits Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, the man who crushed the greatest city in Christendom just 9 years ago, the man who commands an empire that stretches from Baghdad to Belgrade. These 300 men are about to try to kill him. Their leader, a gaunt prince with pale eyes and a reputation that makes grown men whisper prayers, gives the signal. His name is Vlad Țepeș, Vlad the Impaler, and tonight he's not just fighting for survival. He's fighting to destroy the most powerful sultan in the world, with a handful of desperate men against an army 70 times their size. This isn't a battle. It's an assassination attempt disguised as a suicide mission. How does a man with 300 soldiers terrify an empire with 150,000? How does the underdog become the nightmare? This is that story. Before we dive into one of history's most audacious military gambits, if you enjoy learning about the forgotten warriors who defied impossible odds, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content like this. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. I find it incredible that we're exploring these brutal moments of defiance together from different parts of the world, connected across time and space by our shared curiosity about courage under fire. The year is 1442. 20 years before the night attack, a boy named Vlad, just 11 years old, crosses the Danube River with his younger brother Radu. They are not traveling as princes, they are hostages. Their father, Vlad II Dracula, has made a deal with the Ottoman Sultan to keep his throne. The price is his sons. Vlad and Radu will live in Edirne, the Ottoman capital, as insurance. If their father betrays the Sultan, the boys die. For 6 years, Vlad grows up surrounded by enemies. He learns Turkish. He learns Ottoman military tactics. He watches the Janissaries train, the elite slave soldiers who conquer empires. He sees how the Sultan's court operates, the betrayals, the poisonings, the endless scheming for power. His younger brother Radu adapts. He becomes beloved at court, charming the nobles, eventually catching the eye of the young prince Mehmed himself. Some say they become lovers, some say they become inseparable. Vlad does not adapt. He is beaten for his defiance. He is locked in cells. He learns to hate. Every morning he wakes up in a foreign land. He remembers that his father traded him like livestock. Every night he goes to sleep, he dreams of vengeance. What does captivity do to a boy who should be a prince? It forges something harder than steel. It creates a weapon. The year is 1448. Vlad's father is dead, murdered by the Hungarian nobility and buried alive. His older brother Mircea is captured, blinded with hot iron stakes, and buried alive at Târgoviște. Vlad is 17 years old. The Ottomans release him and place him briefly on the Wallachian throne as a puppet. He lasts 2 months before being overthrown. He flees north to Moldavia, then to Hungary. He is a prince without a country, a ruler without an army. For the next 8 years he wanders, schemes, and waits, but in 1456 everything changes. Vlad returns to Wallachia with Hungarian backing and seizes the throne. This time he doesn't plan to lose it. He knows his country is trapped in a death vice. To the south, the Ottoman Empire, the most powerful military machine on the planet. To the north, Hungary, ambitious and expansionist. To the east, Moldavia. To the west, Transylvania. Wallachia is a strip of land between the Danube River and the Carpathian Mountains, squeezed between predators. Every prince before him has survived by bowing to one master or another, usually the Sultan in Constantinople. They pay tribute. They send gold. They send soldiers to fight the Sultan's wars. They prostrate themselves. Vlad decides to do the opposite. The date is 1459. 2 Ottoman envoys arrive at Vlad's court in Târgoviște. They carry a message from Sultan Mehmed II. The Sultan wants Vlad to come to Constantinople. He wants to remind Vlad who holds the leash. The envoys stand before Vlad in the throne room. According to Ottoman custom, they do not remove their turbans. It is a sign of respect in their culture. To Vlad, it is an insult. He asks them why they refuse to bow. They explain their custom. Vlad smiles. He tells them he wishes to strengthen their custom. He orders his guards to nail the turbans to their skulls with iron spikes. The men scream as the nails are driven through cloth, skin, and bone. They are sent back to Mehmed with a message. Vlad will not be coming to Constantinople. This is not diplomacy. This is a declaration of war, but Mehmed is busy. He's consolidating power, crushing rebellions in Anatolia, planning campaigns in the Balkans. He files away Vlad's insult for later. He'll deal with this rebellious prince when the time is right. For now, he lets Vlad play king. Vlad doesn't waste the reprieve. He knows he can't defeat the Ottoman Empire in open battle. No one can. Constantinople fell, Greece fell, Serbia fell, Bulgaria fell. The Ottoman war machine is unstoppable, but Vlad has learned something from his years as a hostage. Empires rely on fear just as much as armies, and fear can be weaponized. The year is 1461. Vlad stops paying tribute to the Sultan, not just that. He crosses the frozen Danube in the dead of winter with his army and invades Ottoman-held Bulgaria. For weeks, his forces rampage through the countryside, burning villages, destroying fortresses, slaughtering garrisons. But this isn't about conquest. This is about sending a message. Vlad writes a letter to his ally, King Matthias Corvinus of Hungary. In the letter, he lists the casualties. More than 23,884 Turks and Bulgarians killed at his order. He includes a grotesque detail. He hasn't just killed them, he's impaled them. Impalement is an ancient execution method, slow and agonizing. A sharpened wooden stake is inserted into the body, often through the rectum, carefully angled to avoid vital organs. The victim is then hoisted upright, and gravity does the rest. The stake slowly pierces through the torso, sometimes taking hours or days. Victims remain conscious for much of it. It's public, it's horrifying. It's designed to break the will of anyone who sees it. Vlad doesn't impale a few dozen people. He impales thousands. He lines the roads with them. He creates forests of stakes, each crowned with a rotting corpse. He wants the Ottomans to see what defiance looks like. He wants Mehmed to understand that this will not be an easy conquest. When Mehmed hears about the invasion and the impalement of nearly 24,000 of his subjects, he doesn't file it away this time. He raises the largest army he's ever assembled. Over 150,000 soldiers, the elite janissaries, thousands of cavalry, Sipahi horsemen, artillery batteries, supply trains stretching for miles. He places Vlad's own brother, Radu the Handsome, at the head of the Wallachian contingent. Radu, who grew up in the same Ottoman captivity as Vlad but chose loyalty to the Sultan. Radu, who will be placed on the Wallachian throne once Vlad is dead. This is personal now. This is family. The date is May 1462. The Ottoman army crosses the Danube. Mehmed doesn't march with a vanguard. He marches with the full weight of the empire. He expects Vlad to surrender or flee. Most rulers would. Vlad does neither. Instead, he implements a strategy that will define the campaign: scorched earth. As the Ottoman army advances north toward Târgoviște, they find nothing. Every village is burned. Every well is poisoned. Every food store is destroyed. The fields are salted. The livestock is slaughtered or driven into the mountains. The Ottomans march through a wasteland. There are no supplies to forage. There's no water to drink. The locals have vanished into the forests and hills. Mehmed's supply lines stretch back across the Danube. His soldiers begin to suffer. They expected a quick campaign, a show of force, a defeated prince. Instead, they're marching through hell. And then the attacks begin. Vlad's forces are small, perhaps 30,000 men total, but they know the terrain. They use guerrilla tactics. They strike at night. They ambush supply convoys. They poison rivers. They release diseased animals into Ottoman camps. They don't fight pitched battles. They bleed the invaders with 1,000 cuts. The Ottomans continue advancing, but morale is crumbling. The soldiers whisper that Wallachia is cursed. They whisper that Vlad is not a man but a demon. By early June, the Ottoman army reaches the outskirts of Târgoviște. Mehmed expects to see the capital. Instead, he sees something that stops his army in its tracks: a forest, not of trees, of corpses. Over 20,000 impaled bodies stretch along the road for nearly 2 miles. These are the Ottoman prisoners Vlad captured during his Bulgaria campaign. They've been here for months, rotting in the summer heat. The smell is apocalyptic. The sight is beyond comprehension. Soldiers vomit. Horses refuse to move forward. On 2 of the tallest stakes, positioned directly along Mehmed's route, are the bodies of Hamza Pasha and Thomas Katabalinos, high-ranking Ottoman commanders. They've been impaled with special care, their bodies positioned to face the Sultan's army. Maimed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, the man who crushed Christian Europe's greatest city, the Sultan who fears nothing, stops. He stares at the forest of death. According to chronicles, he turns to his advisors and says something that will echo through history. He admits that he cannot take the land from a man who does such things, from a man who uses the corpses of his enemies to defend his kingdom, but he doesn't retreat, not yet. He orders his camp established south of Târgoviște, far from the impalement site. The army is exhausted, sick, and terrified, but they're still 150,000 strong. Maimed is the Sultan. He doesn't lose. He settles into his command tent, surrounded by his Janissary guard, his generals, his brother Radu. They begin planning the siege. They expect Vlad to hole up in his capital and wait for them. Vlad is not in Târgoviște. He's watching from the forests. His scouts have been tracking the Ottoman movements for days. He knows exactly where Maimed is camped. He knows the layout of the camp. He knows Maimed is in the center, surrounded by guards, protected by the sheer size of his army. It's an impenetrable fortress of men. But Vlad also knows something else. The Ottomans are overconfident. They've been marching through a wasteland for weeks. They're exhausted. They think the hard part is over. They think Vlad is beaten. This is the moment where most men would surrender, where most men would flee. Vlad gambles everything on one desperate throw of the dice. He selects 300 of his best cavalry, men who have fought beside him for years. Men who know they're probably going to die. He tells them the plan. They're going to ride into the Ottoman camp in the dead of night. They're going to cause as much chaos as possible. They're going to kill everyone they can. And if they're lucky, they're going to reach Maimed's tent and decapitate the Ottoman Empire. Picture this. The night of June 17, 1462. The darkness is absolute. Vlad and his 300 horsemen prepare in silence. Some have dressed in captured Ottoman uniforms to sow confusion. Some carry torches. Others carry horns. All carry swords and spears. This is not a battle plan. This is controlled chaos. They descend from the hills. The Ottoman camp is a sea of firelight stretching across the valley. Over 150,000 men. Vlad's 300 ride toward it like ghosts. They reach the camp perimeter. The sentries see horsemen in Ottoman gear. They assume they're friendly. By the time they realize the truth, it's too late. The Wallachians explode into the camp. They ride through the rows of tents, slashing, stabbing, setting fires. Vlad is at the front, his sword wet with blood. The camp erupts into pandemonium. Ottoman soldiers scramble from their tents, half-dressed, unarmed, confused. Are they under attack? By how many? From which direction? The darkness and the chaos make it impossible to tell. Vlad's men blow horns, scream war cries, light fires. They make it seem like there are thousands of them. The Ottomans panic. Units start fighting each other in the darkness, mistaking allies for enemies. Cavalry units mount up and charge in random directions. Entire sections of the camp collapse into chaos. Vlad and his elite guard cut a path toward the center, toward Maimed's command tent. They're getting closer. The Janissaries form defensive lines, but in the darkness and confusion, they can't hold. Bodies pile up. Blood turns the ground to mud. For nearly 2 hours, the nightmare continues. Vlad's 300 carve a path of destruction through one of history's greatest armies. Estimates vary, but chronicles suggest between 5,000 and 15,000 Ottomans die in the chaos. Some are killed by Vlad's men. Most are killed by their own side in the confusion. But then, just as Vlad's force approaches Maimed's tent, the tide turns. The Janissaries, the Sultan's elite guard, finally organize. They form disciplined ranks. They counterattack with precision. Vlad realizes the moment has passed. They didn't reach Maimed. The Sultan, either by luck or intelligence, had moved his tent earlier in the evening. The assassination fails. Vlad gives the order to retreat. His surviving men wheel their horses and ride back into the darkness. They vanish as quickly as they came. When dawn breaks over the Ottoman camp, the scene is carnage. Thousands of bodies, burning tents, wounded men screaming, horses running loose. The survivors are traumatized. They've just been attacked by what seemed like ghosts. Maimed surveys the damage. He's alive, but his army is broken. He calls a council of war. His generals expect him to order the siege, to finish what they came for. Instead, Maimed makes a decision that shocks them. He orders the army to retreat back to the Danube. He tells them that he cannot conquer a man who does such things, a man who turns 300 men into a nightmare that kills 15,000. a man who builds forests of corpses, a man who refuses to bow. This moment, this night, becomes legend. Vlad didn't defeat the Ottoman army in battle. He couldn't, but he broke their will. He made the cost of conquest too high. He proved that even the greatest empire on earth could be turned back by a man who refused to surrender. Mehmed leaves Wallachia. But he leaves his revenge behind. Radu, Vlad's brother, remains with a smaller Ottoman force. Over the next months, Radu slowly turns the Wallachian nobility against Vlad. The boyars are tired of war. They're tired of scorched earth. They're tired of impalement. By late 1462, Vlad is forced to flee north to Hungary, where he's imprisoned by Matthias Corvinus, who has decided that keeping Vlad locked up is politically safer than supporting him. Radu takes the throne. The Ottomans win the political game. Wallachia becomes a vassal state again. On paper, Mehmed achieves his goal, but the story doesn't end there. Vlad spends 14 years in a Hungarian prison. In 1476, he's released and given another chance to reclaim his throne. He returns to Wallachia with a small army. By December 1476, he's killed in battle against Ottoman forces. Some say he was betrayed by his own men. Some say he died fighting to the end. His head is cut off and sent to Constantinople, where Mehmed displays it on a spike as proof that the Impaler is finally dead. But here's the truth: Mehmed couldn't break him. An empire of 150,000 soldiers couldn't break him. What breaks Vlad is time and politics and betrayal. He dies, but the legend doesn't. For centuries, Vlad the Impaler becomes a symbol. In the West, he's turned into a monster by German and Russian propaganda, the blood-drinking tyrant, the sadistic madman. Bram Stoker will borrow his name for a vampire in 1897, cementing Vlad's image as Dracula, the creature of nightmares. But in Romania, the story is different. In Romania, Vlad is remembered as the prince who refused to kneel. The man who defended his people against an empire that had crushed everyone else. The man who took 300 soldiers and turned them into a weapon that terrified the conqueror of Constantinople. He's remembered as Vlad Țepeș, the defender, not a saint, not a hero without flaws, but a man who faced impossible odds and chose defiance over submission. Today in Bucharest, statues of Vlad stand tall. His face is carved into stone, his expression fierce, his sword raised. School children learn his name as the voivode who protected Romania when no one else could. Tourists visit Bran Castle, mistakenly called Dracula's castle, and hear stories of his cunning and brutality. The truth is more complicated than legend, but the core of it remains. On the night of June 17, 1462, 300 men rode into an army of 150,000 and created chaos that changed history. They didn't win the war, but they won something more important. They proved that courage isn't about the size of your army, it's about the size of your will. Vlad Țepeș the Impaler, the prince who built forests of corpses, the boy who learned to hate in an Ottoman prison, became the man who made an empire blink. If you found Vlad the Impaler's story as intense as I did, please give this video a like. It really helps the algorithm share this hidden history with more people. And if you want to dive deeper into the dark, forgotten corners of the past, make sure you're subscribed. I have a question for you to answer in the comments. If you were in Vlad's position, outnumbered, surrounded, facing certain defeat, would you have attempted the night attack or tried to negotiate with Mehmed? Would you risk everything on one desperate gamble or play the long game of diplomacy? I read every comment and I'd love to hear your take. Next time, we're exploring another impossible stand, another moment where a handful of warriors defied an empire. Until then, remember the lesson of Târgoviște. Sometimes, the greatest weapon isn't the size of your army. It's the strength of your defiance.